Hey everybody, this is Jacob Boland, the digital arts teacher for Jesse Norman School of the Arts. And before we get started, just wanted to let you guys know that uh, here at Jesse Norman School of the Arts, we're staying strong out there, still stuck indoors, but we're gonna persevere. We're gonna figure this all out. Uh, so a little bit about myself again, and to catch you guys up. Uh, I am the photo and digital arts teacher. I have a background of communication at Augusta University, and I graduated the last year. Uh, I've I specialize mostly in film and video. I've been shooting videos since I was maybe about 15, 14. This is pre-YouTube, and I think so. Yesterday we went into a little bit about uh, how to use a DSLR, and we've been working with the Canon. And today we're just going to go over gear and kind of just prep you for what you may need in your camera bag. These are the bare essentials uh, that I have in my camera bag. Uh, my camera bag's a little bit bigger than the standard, but as you can see here, there's room here for the camera, for the lens, for all that. And we're going to go ahead and set this all up, and I'm going to go over what each item is and why it's needed in your bag. Uh, but before we do all that, we're going to kind of do a little bit more drawing, let people kind of get onto the stream, that kind of thing. And after a couple minutes, then we'll go into the gear, and we'll go from there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and flip the laptop over, and I'll put on some music. Hopefully the music worked. Yesterday it didn't work that well. Still trying to figure all this out. So here goes. Okay. Okay. Tilt it down. Let's go over. Okay. Work a little bit here. This is a trying process. So day two trying to figure all this out, but we're gonna get better at it. Okay. Okay, so once again I'm using the Pentel ink brush. It's my favorite, it's my go-to. It's my magic wand to create. So you can see right there, I got a little bit of a drop at the end. So the way that you can fix that is you can just go ahead and just get a little bit of that out. There we go. I went ahead and smeared a little bit onto my paper off screen there. So now we have a fine point. We have enough ink in the reservoir. So let's go ahead and get started. So today, it's Friday. I'm stuck indoors, but let's go ahead and think outside. Let's think fantasy. Let's think something. Let's think space. So I'm going to draw a little spaceman. So first thing I'm going to do is I usually start with a suit. What kind of suit does he have? Okay, so let's start right here. I'm going to give him a big suit and there's a little guy in there. He's hiding out. He's got these wall eyes. His eyes are on the side of his head here. It's a little too big for his suit, but that's okay. He's going to grow into it. Give him a big dome. So with the dome here, that's going to be the glass reflecting. Add a little bit of texture here on this side. And then you want to have something going through on the other side, just like that. Okay, so he's in a little tiny space suit. Well, big for him, but tiny for us. So we have the head and the body and the dome here. Let's add in a little bit more lines. Work on the legs. A little bit of shading again. I think I mentioned yesterday that I'm a big fan of Robert Crumb, Tony Millionaire, these guys that did a lot of wood cutting style. So I like to add a lot of that into my drawings as well. So they're one of my primary influences. So feet, I always have a problem drawing feet. And, but as long as it kind of looks like a foot, I think it's fine. Usually what I'll do is I'll draw uh, my feet that look like pieces of bread, like little baguettes. Like draw little tiny feet that look like baguettes there. Uh, so this one's kind of an offshoot of that as well. So arms. So we have this little guy in this suit. It's kind of peeking out over edge. So let's see. Let's go ahead and give him some more Michelin Man arms. Little tiny fingers. I grew up watching a lot of Pendleton Ward stuff. He's the guy that made Adventure Time, and he does a lot of characters with 3 fingers. And I kind of adapt that on my own as well. Saves time. If you're able to get the point across that you're drawing fingers with only 3 or 4 fingers, I think it's fine. The Simpsons and most cartoons only have 4 fingers anyways. Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, Bart Simpson, all of them have 4 fingers. But a lot of Pendleton Warren stuff has 3 fingers. Okay, so we have this little guy. Let's disregard that piece of bread that I drew as an example. So what is he doing? Is he on a planet? Let's put him on a planet. So let's go ahead and draw some sort of mid-ground that he's kind of at. Okay, let's add a little bit of things here and there. These are just maybe little space rocks or space dirt, just to give your drawing a little bit of texture. So even if you draw really flat like I do, there are ways to get around that to give your drawings texture. So don't ever let anybody tell you that there's only one way to do a drawing, or everything has to be super dimensional. You can do flat stuff and still give it this minimalist style to represent rocks or sand or mountains or buildings or whatever. So okay, so he's on this planet. What do we have in the background? Well, let's go ahead and put some buttes and mesas. Okay, there we go. We have one peeking out behind his legs there. We have a bigger one here. It's a double butte. Goes into a mesa, into a butte, and there we go. Okay, so we have this little simple background layer, right? Okay. Again, it's kind of flat, so let's go ahead, add a little bit of stuff here in the background. What saves a lot of my drawings is doing these little shading lines. So they're all kind of facing the same direction. So we have these shadows coming in over on this side here of his body. The same with the mountains and all that. So let's go ahead and put a sun up here in the upper left quadrant. Let's just put a little. These are like little sun waves here. Let's go ahead and little sunspots as well. Okay. Oh, I don't like that last little one, but we'll see about that. So we have the sun, we have these shadows, we have this little guy on the planet. So let's figure out what we can do. Let's put another little planet here. And maybe something out here. Something there. So you give it a couple little planets in the background here. So a little bit more shading. Okay. So we have all this. Let's have this big, like a big eyeball creature. Now eyes can be a tricky thing if you're trying to draw them realistically. I never got good at drawing stuff realistic. It was never something that I liked to do. I've always been a fan of telling the story using the least amount of detail you can. Very minimalist. Hold on one second. Let's go ahead and. I think I was having a problem there with the laptop kind of going on sleep mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back to this guy here. Big eyeball creature. Giving a couple little acne spots. It's this maybe it's going through puberty here. This little space creature. Give him a couple little things there, a couple of things there. Another line there. Okay, so you have this guy looking at him. But the problem is that the way that I drew this, you have this here in the way. So you can't really bring anything down. So what can you do? Well, go up, move up. Move up a little bit.
Okay, here, so we have these little coils. Maybe they're dreads or who knows what, but they're coming off of there. So we'll have these over here. They're almost like a Medusa hairstyle. Just put a little bit over here. And then let's go ahead and we'll say he's floating. So I do these little marks to show that something's floating. I actually learned these from the artist Keith Haring from the 80s. He did a lot of characters that he would draw. Let's see. He would draw these little characters, and if they were moving around, he would put these little lines there to show that they're moving. And I always enjoyed these little movement lines. I was like, wow, these are great. So growing up, I would add those into my drawings just to kind of easily show movement and still keeping it pretty minimalist here. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this up here. So we have this little guy that right there. So I don't like that he's kind of giving him this look. So you know what? Let's make it look like he's smiling a little bit. And then to go back to those themes from yesterday, just adding a couple little hearts there. Okay, and we're just about done. And so, yep, let's call that quits on that one there. Okay, okay, so close this out. There we go. Okay, so we have this little drawing there. We'll save that for tomorrow. Start bringing these together. Okay, so let me move to a blank piece of paper so I can go over a few things here and there. Okay, we flip it back over one more time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into some of the gear for this camera. So most of the gear that I'm going to be showing you today is for this Canon, but it's cross-platform. You can use it. Most of the stuff, I think, besides the lenses, you can use on a Nikon, a Sony, any camera that is a similar build, like a DSLR. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. There we go. Okay, so the first thing up, we have these. I'm going to start with the things you really need for your camera in terms of just to even carry it around. So you have, once again, you have your telephoto lens. Remember, you use this really for stuff when you're zooming in on stuff, or if you're using sport mode, or the running man mode on your camera. And yeah, it's a good little lens. It shoots from 55 to 250. It's pretty good. And then you have the Nifty 50. This is a Nifty 50 here. It's a fixed lens. So this is one to have in your bag. So since it's fixed lens, it only shoots, doesn't do any zooms or anything. Let's put that one back on the camera. Okay, and then the last one you want to have in your camera bag is this one here, which is the macro lens or the 18 to 55. It's the one that usually, like I said yesterday, it comes with your camera. So this is the one that you would probably want to have always on your camera before the 50 or the 50 or the telephoto. It's probably just better to keep this one on there. So another thing you can't forget if you're just carrying around your camera is the battery. This is the battery for the Canon T5i, and I have two of them actually here. Pulled the other one out of the camera. So there's two of them here, and so they create this thing that you can put on the bottom of your camera. So here's the camera. Let's move this up a little bit. Here's the camera, and at the bottom of the camera is a little slot. It's underneath there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but you're able to put an extender on your camera. And so if you have your camera set up, here's your camera. Got your lens. I drew a very very simple camera there. Looks more like a 1960s Polaroid camera, but oh well. So there's a little piece that sticks onto the bottom of your camera, and you're able to put two batteries in there, and it extends your camera life for a couple more hours. So another reason you would want to have that little extender on the bottom of your camera is not only for battery life, but say you put a microphone on your camera, on the top of it. Okay, so that's going to be running off of these batteries as well. And then say you want to run an external or an external light. So you add a light to your camera, and that's going to be plugged in as well. These are all running off of these batteries here. So if you don't have this extender and you just have that one battery, your battery is going to drain out really quickly. So I don't have it on me, but I would say to go ahead, if you're going to have your camera with all these little accessories on it, to go ahead and get that extender. You can get them on Amazon for pretty cheap, usually around $20 to $30. They have high-end ones, but there's no point in really getting that. It's a simple piece of plastic with some metal in it. There's nothing really fancy about it. There's no upgradable stuff. It's just a simple battery life extender. So this is what I use here for my batteries. So Canon has a habit of making peripheral batteries for their equipment. So the battery that I have right here for the T5i will probably not work with a T3i or T4 or whatever, or a T6 or anything like that. So it only really works with one type of camera. So if you buy your camera through Amazon or eBay or whatever, just make sure that you get the right charger, either that comes with it, or if you go and have to buy this separate, because almost every single model uses a different lithium battery here. So moving on from there, we have SD cards. And so I actually have a tiny little packet here for my SD cards. Do not leave home without your SD card, or you're going to be kind of lost in the sauce. You won't be able to really record anything. I think some of the early T3s and stuff like that have internal flash memory, but maybe for like 8 photos or less. So do not leave home without one of these. So this one here is the 4 gigabyte. I use this one just to take simple photos. It's a kind of grab and go style SD card. And I have here the 16 gigabyte card. That's another one used for photos. But then sometimes I use the 32 or higher. 32 is more for video. I don't keep this one in here just because I've been shooting more photography-based stuff than video-based stuff lately. But yeah, you want to have one 16 or higher to do video stuff with. And finally, what I keep in this little holder if I can get it out, is a micro SD card and micro SD card adapter. So the micro SD card is about a third the size of a regular SD card. And I'm going to show you later what that's used for. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that out and put it right off to the side here so I don't forget. But those three in this little packet are great. Also, if you have a chance and you have money to get another SD card, put one into your camera at all times. I think here, yep, I already have one in here. So I always try to keep one inside my camera. Same with the battery. I took the battery out just for this, but I'm going to go ahead and put one in there because I plan on taking some photos this afternoon. So I want to make sure everything's ready and good to go. So you have your SD card. I'm going to keep that one off to the side. You have your SD card, you have your battery. Now you have your lenses, and these are the filters. So I have these filters here, and I have these filters here. You can get all of these in sets on Amazon. This is actually a set of like 30 lenses and filters, but I don't use a lot of them. I only use these ones here lately, and then I use these. So let's go ahead and open this one here. These are all UV filters. So they're good for outdoor use. You wouldn't want to have them on indoors. But they're also good as a kind of backup if you lose your lens cap. So I usually keep one of these on all the cameras. I definitely keep these on the cameras at Jesse Norman there, because I mean we have a ton of cameras and a ton of camera lens caps, and they go missing, and it's no one's fault. Sometimes they just get up and go, and you'll turn around and the lens cap will be gone. But as long as you have one of these on your camera, you won't have to worry about your lens here, getting scratched up. So the way that most of these lenses work is they come out. Let's go ahead and draw that out. So a lot of these lenses can't really tell, but they have a circular lens. And there's two types of lenses. I think one is anamorphic lens, and the other one is this kind of lens here. But we're not going to worry too much about it. But the ones that we have are kind of, they pop out a little bit. So they're susceptible to scratches, nicks, all kinds of stuff. So as long as you have that little filter on top of it, right here, you should be good to go. You won't have any issues with any kind of scratches on your camera. Okay? So I keep a whole lot of them in here. These are all the same thing. They're all UV lenses. And in fact, there's one already missing. It's probably on one of my lenses. But they're all the same type. They're all UV lenses. So next, we have this Vivitar Special Effects filter. I'm going to go over what's in there real quick. So again, you can buy a set of these on Amazon for super cheap. And they come in packs of like 30 different little filters. So it's pretty cool. So this one here is the sand filter. So as you can see, it has a little bit of a pinhole right there in the middle. And everything around it is kind of obscured. But you can kind of, it's semi see-through here. So what you do is when you put this lens on a camera, what it'll do is it'll take, this is a sand filter. I'll make sure I write this. What it'll do is instead of making everything very much like a pinhole, say you have like a mountain. So the mountain is going to be crystal clear, but everything where that area is obscured is actually going to be kind of blurred out. And so what I'm going to do on Monday, or before Monday, I'm going to go ahead and use these filters, and I'll go ahead and uh, have them on like a slide for the next lesson. I'll be able to show you exactly what they do. So it's going to obscure and kind of blur out everything around it. So what's good is that if you have a movie or a scene that you're doing, let me go ahead and move all this. There we go. So say you have a scene with a character who the main character is in love with. Okay? So in the movie, your main character is in love with somebody, and they lock eyes for the first time ever. First time ever, they puppy love, they see each other. So you'd want to have. Let me go ahead and move this here. So your character is seen. You want to have this clear, but the rest will be kind of have like this milky kind of obscure element to it. And so it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool filter. I use that one a lot for stuff. The next one I have here, if I can get it out, there we go, is it's the multi-image, or what I call the kaleidoscope lens. And as you can see in this video here, it's kind of making the image 3 times over there and reflecting it. It's probably pretty cool. But let me see. So you can see here, this one's just a goofy filter. It's something that I use from time to time to you can kind of twist it around, stuff like that. It's more for experimentation if you're trying to do distortion, in-camera distortion effects with your camera, then this is the lens to use. I don't have to go too much into that one. It's kind of self-explanatory. So this one right here is the SAW filter. It's similar to the sand filter. But what this does is that it kind of doesn't make everything milky and obscure it as much, but it'll still blur out the background. So that's a really cool lens that I like to use a lot, especially if I'm doing landscape stuff or portrait. It's really good with portrait stuff because you can get the portrait crystal clear, and then you're basically creating an artificial bokeh or blur effect with this filter. It's pretty cool. So the next one we have, the final one here, it's a close-up lens. As you can see here, it magnifies everything 10 times over. I think it's 10 times over. Yep. So it's a 10x magnifier. So this is something you can use if you can't afford a wide-angle lens, and you wanna have something kind of close up. It's also good for macro photography. So if you're doing stuff like taking pictures of plants or flowers or anything like that, like this lens will let you zoom in on your little ant buddies here. Pretty well compared to the regular lens, which is going to capture everything kind of really small, kind of like little dots. So those are the 4 lenses or the filters that I use a lot. So we're moving on from there. We have our audio setups. So the camera here has an internal microphone, which is, I think, situated over here and over here. That's where it picks up audio. Is these 2 little dots here and there. So the internal mic is okay. It's not great. If you're really close to your subject, I would say if you're in like a room, you don't have AC on, you don't have any outside noise going on, you can probably get away with using these internal microphones for video stuff. But otherwise, what you want to do is go ahead and pick up a Rode mic. Now, these here, let me zoom in out a little bit. These here are great. Mine has seen better days. I've used this thing for years. You can see I actually have to duct tape it, and it's actually missing the cord that goes from the microphone to the camera. I lost it at some point in time, but it takes a regular like aux cord, like the kind you use to connect your cell phone to your car if you don't use Bluetooth. It's that same cord, and it plugs in right here. It's the same as a headphone jack, same size and everything. So you can pick up the aux cord for really cheap. The Rode mics are about $50 online, but you can get them cheaper. But I would recommend just getting a Rode, because these ones, I mean, as you can tell, this thing's beat up. It's fallen in mud. It's fallen in downstairs, everything, and it still works great. Nothing's really wrong with it. It's pretty simple. When you take this little piece off here, it's just, it's pretty well built for something that is only $50. So again, you can just use the internal mics if you're doing something indoors. Especially since we're all kind of stuck indoors, I would say right now, if you have a DSLR, you can probably get away with using that internal mic. But if you're going to go do something outdoors or something where there's a lot of noise around you, I would get that Rode mic. So let's see. So moving on here, we have I have the H2 Zoom. Now this is if you want to capture audio and transfer it to an editing software, and you want audio to sound a little bit better than that Rode mic or way better than the internal mic, you can get one of these little recorders. These are super cheap. You can get one of these for like $20 or less now on eBay. They're not too bad in terms of build quality. So they take AA batteries. They have a spot on the side for line in, line out for headphones, and then an external mic setup. And we'll get to that in a second on what the XLR cords look like. But so I use these headphones, if I can get them out without knocking everything off my desk. There we go. Okay. So I use these headphones here. You can use regular like iPod headphones, but these work really well, and I think these are just like Walmart brand headphones. But you want something, if you're recording audio, you'd want something like this to cancel out any background noise that you might hear in any interference audio. This is going to cancel it out. And so it goes in that way. Now, the record is pretty easy. You just press that red button to turn it on, turn it off for recording. And it records using this, the little micro SD. So you can actually use a regular SD card, but my tip for these recorders is to keep all your photography and videos on the regular SD card, and then all of your audio on these little micro SD card adapter cards. That way you can tell, okay, I have a whole bunch of SD cards, what is what? Well, you'll at least know that, hey, all my audio is on these cards, and all my video is on the regular SD card. Okay, so we got the SD card in there, we have the batteries, we have the headphones. Here's the little piece that came with it. just kind of a holder if you want to hold it like this. Also, if you can use this to get audio for interviews or for just recording stuff off of TV or anything like that. So I use this little handle, and it just kind of prevents me from having to move too much of the recorder itself. All of my shakiness and all of my stuff right here is in this handle. So we have this here. This is XLR cord. Now I don't have the microphone with me today, but we can at least hook up. And it takes regular XLR cord is going to look like this. It's a big bundle of cords with two sides here. One that is going to plug into your microphone, and one that you're going to put a small adapter on. Snaps right in there, boom. Okay. And that adapter goes to a regular headphone jack. Plug it in, good to go. This end is going to go to your microphone, and you're good to go. You get a lot of cord with these XLR cords, a lot of length. So you can go pretty far with these. This I think is 6 feet of cord. So let me go ahead here and let's flip this guy over. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out the best setup that you would need to shoot video and audio with using that H2 recorder and the Rode mic. So let's say you have the person here, and then you're here behind the camera. So what you can do is you can have the Rode mic on top here capturing audio, and then you can have a buddy or family member right here with that recorder, with the H2 recorder capturing audio. And so what you're going to be doing is you have kind of a backup system in place with your audio. So in case for some reason this putters out for a little bit and you're not able to capture a little bit of audio, you can always fall back on that Rode. Plus, if you're trying to put everything into a timeline, which we will show later on, if you have your video, your audio, and this is the left channel and right channel, what you can do is in that video feed, you're going to have that Rode mic audio. This is going to be your source audio, and then that left and right channel is going to be from this H2, but what you'll have to do is probably just double it up so it'll be left and right. But either way, in case for some reason the audio is bad here or the audio is bad here, you can flip-flop some of it, and it might not sound as good, but this is a good way to make sure you're keeping in track with everything you record. The one thing you'll have to do though is you'll have to sync it up. So the way to sync that up is before you start shooting a video, you're going to want to have somebody clap their hands or say action or some kind of cue. And so when that cue happens, this starts recording and this starts recording at the same time. It's synced up, ready to go. And that way when you load everything onto your editor, you don't have to search back or search forward. Everything will line up, and so you'll have one bar here and one bar here. And let's say you recorded 5 minutes of audio, you'll have 5 minutes of audio from that Rode, and then you'll have 5 minutes of audio from that H2. And they should sound exactly the same in terms of where they're at. So if someone says hello and hello and H2, you'll be able to hear them almost synchronized together. In theory, that should be how that works. Usually, you run into a few other problems here and there, but yeah, that's usually how you get audio through, or how I at least got audio for a lot of the short films that I did at Augusta University. So hopefully that wasn't too technical on how to use everything. So let's go ahead and spend the last couple minutes here actually putting it into our bag. I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I think that's okay. So you have your bag. It's right here. Okay. So the first thing you're going to want to do, if you have that camera, I have that 50 mil on there. That's going to go right in here, right in the middle. So the way you can put it in, you can put it in sideways. I like to put it in sideways, facing this way. So in case for some reason I'm out on a shoot, or before I leave the house actually, and someone says, hey, they ask, hey, how did you, or do you have an SD card in your bag before you leave the house? Boom, I got one right there. And I can just open my bag and check. So that's a good way of making sure you have everything set up without having to get your camera out of the bag. So the next thing you have is your lens. So you have that telephoto lens right there. You have that 18 to 55 lens right there. So you have the two lenses, boom, boom. Sometimes what you can do, I haven't done this, but you can take a small piece of paper and put telephoto on it, and then this one you put 18 to 55. Or if you keep the nifty 50, then you put a 50 little sticker on it. So from there, I go ahead and I put my microphone away. So my microphone's in there, it's good to go. Now we have our lens, our filters. I have those filters there. I have these filters there. Okay. Hold on. Let's make sure everything is working. For some reason my computer keeps sleeping. There we go. Okay. So you have everything in your bag laid out exactly how you need it, right? Okay. So there's this little spot here, this little netting. What I usually do is I stick my SD card in there. All my SD cards are in there. It's closed up. Okay? Next what I do is I have these little pouches on the side. So one of them can go ahead and be used for your battery. The other one you can go ahead and use for other supplies, other things. And then let's go ahead, since we have room, let's go ahead and put the microphone in there with the handle. Okay, so once again, all your main essential camera stuff here. You have your battery here, your microphone here. Now you have these little pouches on the side. So what you can do is they can be used for your XLR cords. Here we go. So those stick right in there. Close that up. Okay, so we have all this set up. You have this other side here, maybe you want to put a drink in there or something if you're going on a long shoot. We have that there. You have these headphones. So the headphones here, they can either go right here and hang down, or you can put them through here. I usually hang them off like that and then tuck this in down below. Just like that. So we close that up. We're good. Oh, actually, let's zip this up. Zip that up there. Close it. And then now we have this back side. And you're probably asking yourself, what goes there? Well, it's very thin. There's not a lot of room. So you have your manual and your software disk. Now, I didn't really go over these because a lot of cameras don't have these, and a lot of the stuff you can actually download from the Canon website or from Nikon or Sony website. But these are just the CD-ROMs that you would use to have a simple photo editor or to upgrade or update your camera. And so this manual, which is indispensable, if you don't have one and your camera didn't have one, I would say see if there's a way if you can get one from the factory or from the company or whatever, because there's so much in here that can help you take better photos, just page by page. It's no different than when you drive a car. You always want to have your manual, even if you don't use it and you Google everything, just have it in there anyways. So there we go. We have our bag set up, and voila, everything fits and is where it needs to be. And I think that's about it for today. And come Monday, we'll go ahead and I'll take some pictures around the house and show you what you can actually do with your camera while you're stuck at home. So, hopefully this hasn't been too boring. I know some people can be like, okay, well, you know, when am I gonna need this? When am I gonna use this? But it's great to kind of set up your camera now, and you won't have to set it up again probably ever. If you keep everything in that bag and you can instantly come in and grab anything and put it back, you're good to go. So organization is very important, no matter if you're taking photos or doing painting or anything really. It's just always good to have everything in its place and organized. You can ask any artist; they keep everything. At least they kind of know where everything's at, and so it's really good to have that set up. In fact, real quick, so this is where I keep all my markers and pens and everything, and I lay everything out exactly where it needs to go in these drawers. So that's just another form of organization. But yeah, so Monday we'll go ahead and we'll go around the house. I'll see about figuring out a way to get everything to work with that, and we'll work on perspective. We'll work on lighting, and we'll take some photos, and I'll upload them to Facebook here to show you what I was able to get using my camera. So thank you, and once again, stay safe out there.